In order to understand wireless attacks, we must first understand wireless communications. So let's start with a wireless access point, which has two types of infrastructure mode, being SSID, Service Set Identifier, and BSSID, Basic Service Set Identifier. Now, you may already be familiar with the SSID, which is effectively the wireless network's name. However, you may not be as familiar with the BSSID, which is effectively the MAC address of the wireless access point. Technical keynote: sometimes the SSID is actually referred to as the ESSID, which is the Extended Service Set Identifier. But generally, most people are referring to the SSID. As for the BSSID, well, this is hardly ever used in a typical configuration by a typical user, but this is the actual MAC hardware associated address of the wireless access point. You can think of the SSID as the human readable text format of the BSSID, in a similar way to how DNS domain names act as a pointer to the underlying IP address, aka BSSID. Now, let's get technical. The SSID, aka wireless network name, is broadcast by the wireless access point via a special transmission known as a beacon frame or packet. This beacon frame allows any wireless network interface card (NIC) within range to see the wireless network and make connecting as simple as possible. Just look at all those beacon frames. So again, those beacon frames are read by a network interface card (NIC), or simply put, a network card inside your device or computer, which is what allows it to have wireless or Wi-Fi capabilities. This may be a physical standalone card or a integrated card, such as those on laptops and mobile phones. Some cards even have obvious antennas, and antennas is a whole science in itself. So can we turn beacon frames off? Well, yes and no. You see, in more advanced modes of the wireless access point settings, you can actually disable SSID, aka wireless network names, from being broadcast into the airwaves. However, the SSID is still present inside frames traveling from already connected wireless clients and can easily be seen or sniffed or scanned using the right wireless scanner or tool, the most common being the free tool known as Wireshark, which can scan a range of network traffic, including protocols, packets, frames, etc., using the network interface card installed into the device where the Wireshark tool is installed. Again, within each packet that the Wireshark tool sniffs, you can find the SSID within the granular data of the packet or frame. Now, a bonus exam tip: hiding the SSID is counterproductive in that it is security through obscurity, meaning the SSID is not truly disabled, it's rather hidden, although it's not really hidden either. Ultimately, the best way to secure a wireless network is to use WPA2 or WPA3. So, now that we understand the basic concepts of wireless communications, let's move on to some wireless attacks. And to start an attack, you would first need some form of wireless scanner that would be able to determine whether there are any wireless networks in the area, including what frequency and channel they are using, the SSID, and what type of encryption is in use, if any, for that network. A wireless scanner can be a range of devices, such as a mobile device with Wi-Fi capabilities, or a notebook that has a wireless card, aka NIC, or even more modernly, a drone. Furthermore, the scanning can be performed using native features of the OS operating system or using specialized scanning and detection tools, aka a wireless scanner. So, to further illustrate, let's break these two components down and also analyze some of these attacks. Starting with the original OG attack, which was known as war dialing. Remember those days where you had to have a dial up modem connected to your phone line and that special phone number you had just to dial up to the then www internet, to which an attacker would then perform war dialing, which was used to discover active computer modems by dialing all the numbers within a certain city or area code. So, why is this important if this is history? Well, today the same concept of war dialing still occurs, however, it is known as war driving, which is where someone uses a detection tool to look for wireless networking signals, often ones in which they are not authorized to access. Again, war driving can be performed with a range of tools which can be handheld or mobile. Given wireless signals are everywhere, it is much easier nowadays to find wireless signals than it was to try dialing up to find active modems. Okay, so what can we do when we are war driving and our wireless scanner identifies a wireless network within range? Well, one of the many types of wireless management frames is known as the disassociation frame, which is used to disconnect a wireless client from the wireless access point as it is connecting to another wireless access point in the same ESSID network coverage area. Whilst this frame is a legitimate frame, if used maliciously, the client, aka connected wireless client, can lose their wireless link, aka be booted off the wireless network, through sending just this one disassociation frame. A similar attack can be performed using a deauthentication packet. This type of packet is normally used immediately after a client has initiated a wireless access point authentication, but ultimately the client failed to provide the correct credentials, aka the wrong wireless network password. Additionally, if an attacker sent a malicious deauthentication packet to a wireless client who was already connected to a wireless access point, this deauthentication frame would disconnect the client as if the authentication failed. What's more, it's very difficult to prevent these types of attacks using legitimate wireless management frames in a malicious manner. This is because any active wireless network that is not enclosed in a Faraday cage can be detected, since the base station, aka wireless access point, will be transmitting radio waves, even those access points that have disabled the SSID. Now, moving on to some more strategic wireless attacks, starting with the Evil Twin attack, where an attacker operates a false access point that will automatically clone or twin the identity of an access point that is legitimate and based upon a client device's request to connect. In order to truly understand the concept of this attack, we need to go back to understand how the wireless adapter, aka wireless network interface card, works at a deeper technical level. You see, each time the wireless adapter, aka an IC card, is enabled on a device, it sends out reconnection requests to each of the networks stored in its wireless network history, aka profile history. These reconnect requests include the original base station access point's MAC address, aka BSSID, and that network's SSID, aka network name. meaning once the evil twin sees a reconnection request, it simply spoofs its identity in line with those parameters and offers a plain text connection to the client. The client accepts the request and establishes a connection with the false evil twin base station AP. This attack works because authentication and encryption are managed by the base station, aka the wireless access point, and not enforced by the client. This means that even though the client's wireless profile will include authentication credentials and encryption information, the client nonetheless will accept whatever type of connection is offered by the base station, which can be plain text. Again, a malicious use of a legitimate wireless management concept. And one last type of attack is known as the rogue access point. A rogue wireless access point or false wireless access point can be deployed by an attacker externally to target your existing wireless clients or future visiting wireless clients. Important technical keynote: there are actually two types of methods to employ a rogue access point. One method is targeting existing clients by duplicating a wireless network's SSID, MAC address, and wireless channel, but most importantly, operating at a higher power rating. This means that clients with saved wireless profiles will inadvertently select or prefer to connect to the rogue AP with the higher power rating, aka wireless signal, rather than the original legitimate wireless access point. The second method is attracting new visitors by creating a new wireless access point, which is a lot easier given the wireless client has no previous history of wireless networks, so will be fooled into thinking that this network is legitimate now and forever on. Now you may be wondering why I have not covered Wi-Fi Protected Setup WPS or Wi-Fi Protected Access WPA 2 and 3 or even Wired Equivalent Privacy WEP within this video. Well, that is because they have been covered extensively in my previous video, which I have linked here, and I would highly recommend you watch to complement your learnings from this video. And finally, if you have enjoyed today's content, please feel free to leave a like and remember to subscribe, if not already, to this channel to ensure you do not miss any future content released regularly.